It wasn't a nasty thing as much as it was just a reality. And that taught me what Kelly did naturally, which was, hey, I don't know everything. So let me enlist people who do know those things. And that way I can focus on what I have an expertise at. So he does that really great.
Super excited about this episode. Welcome back, everyone. Really enjoying these live episodes that we're streaming into the Sales Talk with Solar Pros group. Today, we have an awesome episode. So basically, we've got Kelly back on, and we've also got the special guest, Sean Marzola, who is the executive vice president for Apollo?
Correct. Yep.
Love it. Now, the reason why I'm really excited about this episode is because, there's a journey that salespeople go through, right? So there is a salesperson, then it's like a leader or team leader, and then it's business person, and then it's and then you graduate to like a real business person, right? With all the resources around you. And for most people, we get stuck as a salesperson, or we go in this little loop of just starting, all these brand new things all the time. And it was Alex Hormozy who said that entrepreneurs, we have this dopamine hit of quitting something, which is our 9-to-5 job, and starting something new, which is entrepreneurship. And he says, because we were originally rewarded by doing that particular action, then, as we start as we go on our business journey, we constantly stop, start, because we were originally rewarded by that particular action. But by having the right people around you, the right team members, the right leadership, the right resources in place, like Kelly's done with Sean, and we're going to hear the story as well. Then you can, eventually build a real business, helping, a lot more customers than just, a small sample. So, guys, welcome back. We were on live last Tuesday. Sean, hand over to you, man.
Oh, great. Well, it's really wonderful to be here. I'm super stoked to do this podcast today. The first one we did last week was really great. Loved watching it. So I guess maybe let me provide a little background on myself first. That's probably appropriate because I'm possibly an unknown quantity among our audience here. So I've been an entrepreneur since I'm in my mid-20s, so about 30 years. I've learned so much through entrepreneurism, and I don't know how many tech companies I've started and sold. In some cases, successfully. In other cases, fair to middling. In some cases, not. And that's the game, if you will. So that teaches you a bunch. And lately, I've been doing a lot of business coaching and helping other entrepreneurs. So my role here at Apollo is executive vice president. You could probably say subcontracted CFO or the like, business mentor. We're seeking something a little different here at Apollo. And Kelly made this clear from the moment he wanted to start the business. He wanted to build a real organization. He didn't want to just make a living. He wanted to build a company that could have value, a company that could not just feed its employees, right, with great incomes, but also possibly create wealth for everybody involved. And so that's a little different than just making a living. And so I think that's the crux of the title of this podcast. So what have I done in my career? Well, I've traveled over 2 million air miles in my career. I've been all over the world and back, done business in many different countries all over the US. Like I said, started a number of different tech companies. I've raised it's somewhere between 75 and 80 million dollars in my career, in the form of equity, as well as bank financing and a little bit of grant money. So again, teaches you a lot. Built a number of companies from the ground up, and one of which was a solar company back in 2005. co-founded a solar technology company with a group of guys. We ended up selling that company to Grupo Carso in Mexico. That is a division of Carlos Slim's empire. So I know a little bit about this business too. The solar business is pretty impressive. It's fun too. So when Kelly wanted to start this business, I was eager to be involved and try to help steward it along.
We can't hear you, Carlos. Nah, we lost you. Turn your mic back on.
There you go.
There you go. Is that better?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
We had a signal. It was this.
Oh, I know. That's right. I'm sorry.
What I was saying is, look, the solar industry now, like there's a lot of like if you look at the demographic, there's a lot of young people getting into the solar industry. And you know, how do people, or how do, you know, young companies attract someone of your caliber, Sean, just like you did, Kelly?
Well, that's a good question. Let me
Actually used to work for Sean.
I think it was Kelly's character. Yeah, it was Kelly's character. That was really critical for me. And every time, you know, I don't care what anybody says, we measure each other. Everybody does in life. There's always score being kept, right? Somebody says this, their actions were that. Do they match or not? That if they don't match more than 5 times, we probably dismiss that person. If they match more than 5 times, then we count the next 5 or 10. And Kelly's actions meet his words. He is a person of character. And after you've been in a number of entrepreneurial ventures with folks, you want to, especially as you ascend in life, like I have with the age that I now am, you want to be with people of character. So I think that's the most important part. This was not a matter of, oh, well, this guy doesn't have enough money to start a business, or he does, or, you know, or enough experience or not. That didn't mean anything to me. Initially, I was really just solely looking for character.
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of shady people out there, especially in this industry, because it's so unregulated. What are your thoughts, Kelly?
Oh yeah, you know, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. First time I've heard that from Sean. He usually just teases me. So
You earned
it. No, it was I you know, I had a good relationship with Sean. You know, he is probably one of, if not like the most accomplished entrepreneur that I know prior, you know, to me starting my own business and working with him. I just, you know, learned a ton from him, and I had a great idea. I was really good at marketing. I knew how to do marketing, right? I knew how to do marketing and sales. I was super good at that. And I knew I was really good at that. But I think one of the big things that went into it was I recognized all the other areas of building a real business that I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about how to make a P&L statement. I didn't know anything about tax planning. I didn't know anything about accounting. And I think it was a huge waste of my time to try and figure out how to do that when I could talk to somebody that, you know, knows all that stuff, try and take the ego out of it. I don't recognize like, hey man, I don't know all this stuff. You're really good at all of this stuff. You know, let's build a business, right? This is what I can do. I can create leads and get people to sell the leads, right? But there's a lot more to building a company than doing just those 2 things.
Yeah.
So, you know, take your ego out of it, recognize the things that you're not good at, and ask for help.
Yeah, and I think that's most salespeople. Like we were having a chat before this, and even myself. You know, we're really good at generating leads. We can sell, we can bring money in, but it's typically the mismanagement of money, of, you know, where all that money goes, that causes, you know, either a capitulation, like just a implosion from the inside, or like failure to scale.
Yeah, if I could add, character was the most important thing to want to do something. And then the other things that really added up were Kelly is an expert at lead generation and solar. He's an expert. Again, I had experience. I built a solar technology company and sold it. So I wasn't naive to the technology side or the business of it, but I did not know how to sell residential solar, and Kelly really is an expert at that. The other thing that was unique about Kelly is, and I would stress this to all young entrepreneurs, actually any age entrepreneur. And I got a very hard lesson on this by a venture capitalist when I was in my mid-20s. Letting go of the ego, critical, really, really critical. I think Kelly's been one of the most impressive persons I've seen be okay with not knowing what he doesn't know, and then enlisting experts to assist him. That is often a very big ego problem for a lot of entrepreneurs, probably myself initially. And like I said, I got a really early lesson from a venture capitalist when I was in my mid-20s, who, told me, we really like the firm. We really like your company. We like what you're trying to do. But we're not going to invest, and it's because you're not ready.
Wow.
And that's like, a real
Slap
big
face.
yeah, it's really big. This guy was hilarious, by the way. He had taxidermied vultures in the lobby of his office,
Wow.
vulture capitalist, right? But he was also pretty impressive, because he then said to me, do you want to know why we don't think you're ready? And so we sat and talked about that for a while, and I loved it. I thought it was the most liberating conversation, because then I could go out and work on those things. And within, I think it was 6 to 9 months later, I ended up raising the money from another source, and they were super happy for our company. We remained, in contact for many, many years. It wasn't a nasty thing as much as it was just a reality. And that taught me what Kelly did naturally, which was, hey, I don't know everything, so let me enlist people who do know those things, and that way I can focus on what I have an expertise at. So he does that really great.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I think
Makes it easy, man. I don't have to spend like 2 weeks or, spend hours every 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do payroll properly. Because I don't want to pay for an accountant or for payroll service, which I know is like an issue with probably 90% of dealers, who don't have like a legitimate accountant in their operation. They just tear their hair out trying to do accounting when it's way more valuable, because that time you could probably sell another deal or two and, just pay for an accountant.
Yeah, we forget what actually makes a business valuable. Number one, it's are you providing value to your customers? But when you're looking to sell or scale, when someone's looking from the outside in, a lot of the time, like, they just see a big mess. You know what I mean? Like, they're seeing sales come through, but where are the systems? Where are the processes? What is the actual tangible thing that's being created that can either grow bigger or you can hand over to someone else?
What are we going to buy?
What are we buying? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Buying some rowdy guys in a garage.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So I know you've prepared some slides. I had a quick look through them. It's really valuable stuff. Should we go through those slides?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we should.
Absolutely. So let me see. I have them up here. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Wilson, CEO of Apollo Energy Company. Extremely excited to announce our Dealer Incubator Program. So what is the Dealer Incubator Program and who is it for? The Dealer Incubator Program is for dealers, small teams of sales guys, ideally doing at least 10 deals a month, and we want to help you grow to doing 50 deals a month. Who is the program not for? The program is not necessarily for an individual salesperson. If you're just a single sales guy looking for a new opportunity, we can definitely bring you into our own internal team. We provide leads to our team, and we can get you doing 10 to 15 deals a month right away. So what problems are we going to help you solve with the Dealer Incubator program? Maybe you're not getting paid properly on the deals that you've sold. Maybe the payments aren't coming as fast as you were told that they were going to come. Maybe the installs are sloppy or the finance is expiring before your deals even get installed. Maybe you don't have the marketing in place to continue to feed your team leads. Maybe you don't have the recruiting in place to keep new blood coming into your organization. And perhaps you just don't have the operations in place to properly scale your team. We're here to help you solve all of those different problems. You're guaranteed to get paid when we say you're going to get paid. You're guaranteed to get paid the amount that we say you're going to get paid well ahead of time, in line with your commission reports and the adder sheets that you have. We guarantee that you're going to receive the volume-based discounts that we outline for you ahead of time, and you're guaranteed to receive immediate support, whether it's at 11 p.m. on Tuesday night or at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. Our team is available to help you around the clock, 7 days a week. What type of results can you expect by joining us in the incubator program? You can expect to significantly grow your dealer or your sales organization, and you can expect to have massive success with the EPCs that we work with already. And you can expect that if you're exceeding 50 deals a month, you will be turned over to them directly. Apollo Energy is also going to assist you with establishing, if you don't have one already, an operations team, as well as a marketing and recruiting team, so that your deals can get installed quickly, you can get paid quickly, you can keep new leads flowing into your organization, and you can keep a pipeline of new blood coming into the organization to run those leads. Looking forward to working with you.
That's good.
Awesome. So, making a living versus building a business, courtesy of Mr. Marzola.
Well, I think we both have a lot to contribute here because while these are my thoughts in large, you're living it. You're experiencing the difference because you know what it's like to just make a living. So let's talk about that, right? What is the single most important difference? What is the difference, right? Is there one thing that differentiates it? And I believe it is value. The value of the stock of the business, whether you're a single person who owns an LLC or you're like Apollo and we've got, I don't know how many, well over 50 people, and we are a corporation. Either way, you have stock in your business. What is the value of that stock? So if you're just making a living and you're just churning along and you don't have structure in place and you're not focused on growth, you're probably not going to be worth a dollar, let alone having someone come by and offer you $1 million or 10 or $100 million. Whereas if you're building a business, that's really the trick, right? You're looking to build value in it so that the stock is worth some meaningful amount of money. Single most important difference, it's value.
And who decides that value, Sean?
Yeah, that is like a really great question. In the end, it's the market, right? It's let's say you want to explore, let's say you've built your business and you want to explore whether or not there's an M&A or merger and acquisition opportunity for your business, or maybe a private equity firm wants to buy a piece of it. That's when you start to figure out what the value of the business is. And perhaps that's a combination of a multiple based on your profitability, a multiple maybe based on your revenue, and maybe a multiple based on your growth rate because you've grown so quickly. Companies that grow quicker are worth more than companies that don't grow so fast. That's just typically how the financial markets assess a business. But it'll be profitability mostly, and size of your revenue and growth rate.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so let's say, there's a salesperson looking to start the business. Well, where do you think is like the main elements? Like anytime you're either consulting for a small business looking to build something real, what are the key elements that your go-to key elements that they need to set up that's going to allow them to do exactly this?
Sure. First and foremost, I believe very much in, just on a personal level, of manifesting what it is that you're looking to get done. Right. So conduct yourself as if. I probably say that a million times. Especially in the beginning, I would say that Kelly and I went in our talks quite a bit, I think. So when you're conducting yourself as if, well, then why are you waiting to start a corporation? Why are you waiting? Why are you stuck in this sole proprietorship and your checks from whatever solar entity you're working with are coming to Joe Smith? Right? Why are you waiting? So right off the bat, start an entity. And if you're serious about growing an entity, it probably should be an S corp. It'll give you the maximum amount of liability protection, and really situate you for building a real business, if that's what your aim is.
Yeah.
So first and
And
foremost.
And are they the same elements that differentiate a company that starts to grow really fast, compared to a company that like 2 years down the track, they're still like spinning their wheels?
Yeah, you're starting as if, right? Or you're conducting yourself as if, and in the start, you're deciding, I'm going to be a corporation and I'm going to build a real business. And every step you take then will lead you to that. It's it's interesting. The difference between building a business and just making a living, they're not really that huge. The differences. They're just a bunch of little nuances that add up to a huge difference in the way the business is conducting itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So that's the main, right out of the gate. I think that's the main thing you're looking to get done. If you're serious about it, let's incorporate. Let's start to get bookkeeping in place. Let's start to do things for real. Like, let's measure.
Get
No
your bank
cost.
account set up,
Yeah.
categorize expenses, understand what's a business expense, what's not.
Yeah. So my grandparents were Depression era people, right, in North America. A lot of people remember the Great Depression that we had and call it the 1920s. And so, they'd hide money in coffee cans, right? Like, in their basement, right? So I like to say, no coffee can accounting, right? No, we're not writing it on the back of a napkin. We're going to get QuickBooks. We're going to start to measure ourselves, each and every month. We're going to have at least a quarterly P&L, if not monthly. And
Yeah.
even if it doesn't say much in the beginning, that doesn't matter. It matters that we're conducting ourselves as if.
Yeah. And that's really, really important, because my first business ventures, I didn't measure money coming in. I didn't measure money going out. And by the time I, like 6 months down the track, we were in debt. Like, how the hell did we get into debt if we're getting so many sales? Like, well, no one's like what you don't inspect. There's a saying, what you don't inspect, you can't expect.
Yeah. It's really, really important. All right, let's keep going.
That's been invaluable with me, because I've had like a crash course on high level business practices as we've built this company.
Yeah, and you don't need to wait as well to make all the mistakes, because there are people out there like Sean. There are services. There's YouTube University as well, which is like a free resource. There's so much information that you can absorb.
Yeah.
Oh my
absolutely.
God. Compared to when I first started my first business, it's amazing what you can do. So that's the question, right? What would you rather have? A business that, you can make a living at, or a business that you can make a living at and can be worth something in the end? You can have a succession plan, right? You possibly it's somebody retiring and maybe it's their kids taking over, or it's the sale of the company, or maybe it's a public offering. Who knows? But I think it's pretty clear to me what I would rather have.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, like what's a succession plan?
Yeah. So succession plan would be what happens after you,
Okay.
right? What you don't want to do it forever. Realistically, at some point in time, and you might want to retire early, young, right? And in Kelly's case, right, he has a young family. Maybe he wants to go enjoy that. I think there's all kinds of reasons for a succession plan. Might be just normal, right? You reach an age where you'd like to retire, but it could be that you want to exit early and enjoy life.
Yeah.
And the most somebody buy the company, you need to have a plan in place for it to continue after you go.
Yeah. And for the dealers that she forgot my question. Now you guys keep going.
All right. Just when it comes back to you, bring it back. All right, what do we got here? All right, so let's talk a little bit about some advantages and disadvantages, right? Because there are both advantages and disadvantages to either building a business or just making a living. So with making a living, you kind of have limited control over your income potential. You're probably doing really well, and if it's a solar industry that you're making a living at, you're probably doing better than you might have been doing at a job, right? But it's still tied to your personal time. And if you want that income to grow, that's hard to do without your availability of time to yourself going down. It's really hard. Obviously, value. We've talked about this already quite a bit. The value of the business will not be very much unless it's really got structure to it. I'd say disadvantages to building a business. Say possibly higher risk of your investment, or maybe your need to reinvest profits as they come in. That's the more likely case in this industry. It's not so much about having so much money to put into it up front. It's more about, are you willing to reinvest some profits? Can you put off buying the jet ski? Can you put off, having to do 5 trips, wherever that year? Can you put that off for a period of time and invest it back into the business to build the business? If you view that as risk, then that's a disadvantage. Now, Kelly, again, I said in the beginning, right? Words and actions. Kelly's words were, I'm going to reinvest in the business. I want to build a business. Kelly lived very, very, very meagerly in year 1. He invested tons of money into the business. And it was money that he didn't have. It was money that was coming in from profits, right? We were succeeding. So I don't want to give anyone the impression you need $1 million to do this. You don't. Not in this industry. So it was awesome to see. And the dividends are being paid now. Fantastic meeting of words and actions, and the result of it has really been great.
And is there a measure of when, this was my question that I forgot before, is there a measure of when we should hire new employees, or hire someone else to look after a different hat within the business? Like, how do people know when it's the right time and when it's like the wrong time?
Yeah, that is a constant assessment amongst the senior team. I don't think there's not a right or wrong answer to that necessarily. I think you're constantly assessing, right? Like, we do that all the time here at Apollo. We're always, I remember when we were thinking about putting one of our rock stars from the marketing side, or the business development side, the lead generation side of the business, into operations. it was a big step for us. But it was really the right move when we did it. But we had to keep assessing it. So we were assessing it beforehand. We were happy with our decision when we made it, but we kept assessing it afterwards, because it's possible that if we didn't keep succeeding, that we'd have to pivot backwards a bit. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer to your question. I think it's more about, are you constantly assessing what's needed for the business to be growing? And you know, in our case, we were very fortunate. There was somebody who had very natural skills for that position inside already, but we were taking him out of a revenue generating post, right? So then that means we had to backfill, right? We had to fill in, because without getting more revenue, there was no point in having somebody, you know, in operations.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, because there's always the visionary, and then you've got the operator. I guess, like, you know, how do you find the right operator to help you build your business, and not, you know, put the engine of your business into the wrong hands too early?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, in our case, you know, I don't think we have too much weight in vision. Vision's been pretty much Kelly, but Kelly also operates. So we don't spend that much time in vision. And I think in a company like these solar sales organizations, I don't think you need that much vision. So it makes it a little easier to not get too stuck in that constant battle that you bring up, Carlos, because it does happen in a lot of companies.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess, like, the vision of can be discussed in like one day. It's like, all right, we're going for 100 sales this month, and
Yeah,
the rest of the operations, like, let's
yeah,
just
it's not like, you know, it's not like you have to worry about, like in tech companies, you know, you have to be thinking of your next technology while you're not even to market with your first. Right. So that often requires a lot of visionary thought. That kind of thing is not really a drag on solar sales companies. That said, we've had some really unique, you know, vision from Kelly that has built this business to a point where it, you know, built much faster than I expected.
We love that.
Had some good operational help.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate in a lot of ways.
What would you regard as fast growth of a solar dealership? Like, you know, let's say today is the first day that the dealership starts. What would you say is like a fast growth solar dealership to just a small one, you know, standard average?
That's you, Kelly.
I don't know what the average growth is of a solar dealership, so it's a little bit of a tough question to answer. But we did, you know, 100 deals in a month after 14 months in business. So, that was our best month, and it was kind of. I wish it was linear growth. That would make everyone's life a lot easier, but it's never linear growth. Like, you have a great month, and then you go back down, and, you know, you write 50 or 60 deals, and then, you know, you're pushing along and you're trying to get to 100 again. And, you know, we started off, like, our first month was like, you know, me and my mom selling deals, right? Like, you know, I think like 14 deals our first month or whatever it was. And then I got my brother selling deals, and a couple other guys came on and started selling with us. And we built up our call center from like 4 or 5 guys into now like 30 something people in our call center. So, you know, I don't know what's fast growth, man. If it, I guess, depends on what you start with. We started with like 2 sales reps and like 4 marketers, and we're doing 30 deals a month in like 3 months from there. And then from that point, you know, 6 or 7 months, we did 56 deals in a month. Our best month, just 100 deals. And, you know, that was after 14 months in business. So I think that's pretty fast growth for a sales dealer. We didn't start with any kind of upfront loans or investment or anything like that. I had about $35,000 in my bank account to start. So that's what we started with. And then, you know, like Sean said, I was selling for the company, and then I was using my own commissions to fund the growth of the call center, right? To feed leads to the sales team. So the sales team were selling, and they were making nice commissions, and I was also selling. And when I was making commissions, I would dump that back into the growth of the call center, right? So that we could pay them like a little bit of a base pay and get the call center guys paid quicker, so that we could continue feed leads to the sales rep. So my first year, I probably made, I don't know, 50 grand, right? Or something like that. Not that much money compared to like the money that's available in solar. But that's just because all of the sales that I made, I dumped that back into the call center to grow our lead gen. So now we probably spend upwards of $60,000 a month on marketing, and we get a nice return on it, and we're continuing to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually can make money now, so that's nice too.
Yeah, so that's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's really good.
But yeah, that's, you know, no loans, no debt, no like outside funding, anything like that. You know, it was just built with some good old sweat equity, you know, and 30 grand of my commissions at my old 35,000, I think is what we started with, my old solar commissions, and that's how we got Rocket.
Yeah, and in this real like life scenario, when did you bring, or when did Sean come on board, or were you on board?
Sean was there. Sean was the first person I called when I was going to start the company. Like I had this idea that I'm going to start a solar sales company. I was like, I'm going to start this company. I have like, you know, some people in place to do marketing for us. We are basically already have a call center ready to go. I did lead gen for a long time. So I've trained a ton of canvassers, marketers, cold callers. Like prior to even working in the solar industry, I've trained 150, 200 people to do door knocking or cold calling for home remodeling businesses. So it's easy for me to duplicate that in-house lead gen for that home service business. So we got the idea to start the solar company, and I called Sean because Sean's like business acceleron is like every single thing that you need to have a company outside of whatever your core business model is. Like he can provide you with business software, like books, accounting management, web development, like anything that you can think of outside of whatever your core business model is. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I called him up, and then like right away we got set up. We had an S corp ready to go. Like I had a full-time accountant ready to go. I had like financial planning, all that kind of stuff. Like here's what we were spending on a call center, how much we needed to spend to grow the call center the right way. I would make sales. The commissions were going back into the call center, and we steadily grew the call center, and we grew it without taking on any kind of loans or debt.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you did is what, have you guys heard of a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan?
No.
No.
I have not.
So,
I think I've heard of Dan Sullivan, but I have not heard of that book.
so basically in that book, he talks about when, you know, you're building a business, rather than trying to figure out, okay, how are we actually going to get this done? You just, whatever time that you were going to spend on doing that, spend that time looking for the right person that already knows the how. So it sounds like that's exactly what you did, Kelly. You know, leveraged a prior relationship. Obviously, Sean's already spoken about how you know, your characters matched. You had the same core values, so it's just a matter of leveraging existing relationships. Because Sean already had the how, rather than you trying to work it all out from the ground up.
Oh, that would have been a nightmare. I mean, I would have tried to figure it out, but we wouldn't have had anywhere near the same like initial success or fast growth. that we had. We'd probably be an LLC, not an S corp. I'd probably owe a ton of money in taxes for this past year. I'd probably have, I don't know, debt or whatever else, or I'd have to be paying a ton of money just to have proper accounting and payroll, or I'd be ripping my hair out trying to do payroll myself, which would be a pain,
Yeah.
instead of just focusing on growing the business.
I'm
I'm
gonna look that book up, Carlos.
actually going to drop it into the comments. So it's called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Someone. I don't know who the doctor is, but Dr. Someone.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that one up.
Check it out. Not how. Makes a lot of sense.
Should we move on to some advantages?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. All
Cool,
right,
here we
so
are.
yeah, do you want to start, Kelly? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure, I can start. So Sean did prepare all this information. He did a great job. So advantages of making a living, less risk, right? Compared to building a business. You're going to typically involve lower levels of financial risk and responsibility because you don't have to dump your commissions back into building your call center or into ad spend or into whatever way funnel that you're going to use to generate leads and to generate business, right? You're going to go take your sales commission and go home and pay your bills and pay your mortgage and put it into a savings account or, investments or whatever else, right? Building that business requires, extra levels of risk. And then predictability, job or freelance work, you generally have a clearer idea of your income and work schedule, and you have an easier, makes it easier to plan your finances and your personal life, right? Because I've definitely experienced that now. It can be very unpredictable. If maybe you have an install go poorly, or the tree guy got held up and didn't show up to your job, and you have an install tomorrow, or whatever other freaking BS happens, like craziness, whatever craziness, do a re-roof, but the roofers screw up, and now it's a storm tomorrow, and the guy's tarps blew off of his house, and his house is leaking. Like all kinds of nonsense can happen, right? I wish it was always smooth sailing, but it never goes.
So many moving parts as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course. And you're gonna get that freaking call at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night or whatever time it is, and you got to figure out a way to deal with it if you want the company to keep going.
Yeah.
So advantages building a business, potential for growth. That's obviously a huge one. Business has potential for significant growth, which can lead to increased income and opportunities. Successful businesses can create value beyond the efforts of the owner. So that's a lot of what Sean talked about at the beginning. If you want to exit, or even if you want to have a business that is self-sustaining or runs itself without your constant presence, that's only going to happen by actually building a tangible entity. Right. So then entrepreneurial freedom. As a business owner, you have more control over your work environment, decision making, and the overall direction of the business. I think it takes time to get to the freedom part, though, because definitely initially you're owned by the business. And then long-term benefits. A successful business can provide long-term financial security and potentially create a legacy. It can also be sold or passed on to others. That's our plan. We want to build this up, grow this up, take as many people as we can with us, and sell this, exit, turn it into something else. Like there's a lot of options that we can do,
Yeah. And what do the opportunities look like for owners who are building dealers? Like what do the opportunities look like, either existing opportunities or new opportunities to either sell or, get acquired? What do they look like?
So I think that's going to be multiple things. One, you'd have to grow to be doing a ton of deals, because if you're just a dealer and you're a couple sales guys, there's no value, right? If you're going to do that, you have to have a marketing machine and a sales machine in place that can be acquired. And that's if you're just a dealer. Other thing would be to turn into, kind of what we've just started now with this, with Suntuity, is this sponsored dealer program, or what people call a master dealer, where you have the opportunity to bring on and grow a ton of other dealers, which is something that we're working on doing now, where we help things like Sean mentioned with payroll, we provide that as a free service to dealers who work with us. You put deals through us, we'll do your payroll as part of working with us. So you don't have to worry about doing the accounting. We'll literally, you give us red lines, splits, however you want to pay your team, and we'll put it all in a spreadsheet. You just have to put it in your payroll service and click run. So that'll save you time and headaches and effort, or, depending on the way things go, eventually starting your own EPC, right? If you have the sales to make that happen, that's how you do it. I think sales orgs and dealers can be acquired for somewhere between 5 and 7 times EBITDA, depending on the volume that you're doing. But EPCs, you're looking at like 20 times full on EPC.
And what type of organizations are looking to acquire dealerships?
That's
Well,
probably a better Sean question.
yeah, bigger dealerships. Also, I think we're going to see larger solar companies, possibly move in that direction. And then private equity firms. Private equity firms are always looking for profitable businesses. And once you become a marketing machine, as Kelly was saying, it's game on. Right now, it's just a matter of getting more closers. So to me, I think the opportunities are really varied. As Kelly also said, I mean, maybe you become an EPC at that point because your volume justifies it.
Yeah.
It's not out of the realm.
What's that?
It's not out of the realm at all of possibilities.
Well, and what do you think? Because we hear the word private equity a lot, within business, inside the solar industry. Most people don't really know what that means. Like, private equity. What does that mean? What does that actually mean for the people who don't know?
Sure. So that could be a very wide definition. So traditionally, private equity firms are large investment banking firms seeking to invest in profitable businesses. Different than venture capitalists, who are mostly looking for early stage companies that might not be profitable, but can have wild upside. Private equity tends to look for companies that are already profitable, have a good foundation, and are really just on a growth track. Or maybe those companies are already in a later stage and private equity wants to buy in so that they can just, I'll just say it straight, they can milk the business. But either way, that's a great transaction for the owners of that entity. Now, private equity could also just be, on the other side, private group of individuals who are high net worth folks, and they are investing in businesses to make more profit. It could be family offices. Family offices are specifically structured, call it offices, for high wealth families, that a portion of their wealth is probably, in precious metals, possibly in the stock market, possibly in businesses they previously owned, real estate, and then new businesses might be the fifth leg of that chair, if you will. So family offices are very popular, and they're often looking for growth industries where there's profitability. So it's kind of a solar sales company is not that difficult of a pitch to make for an acquisition. If you can demonstrate profitability and growth over, a 5-year period, I think you can definitely find an exit event.
Yeah. And would you say like the main thing that a private equity firm looks for with a dealership, not an installer, but like with a dealership, is the ability to maintain a high volume of sales every single month, and a strong brand? Or what would you say are like the key elements that they look for?
If I were shopping for one, I'd be looking for 2 things. The ability to drive leads, and then year-to-year growth. I wouldn't be so concerned about month-to-month growth. I'd be mildly concerned about quarterly growth and half-year growth, but year-to-year growth, like over a 5-year period, I'd want to see what that looked like. And I'd probably measure it against lead development.
Yeah. And would you say like having as many sources of leads as possible, or like, is it a red flag if sales are only coming from one source, such as like door knocking or Facebook? Like, what are
No, I don't know that it's necessarily a red flag if it's worked for, X period of years, consecutively. Diversity though is always good. And under Kelly's vision, our lead generation here at Apollo is definitely diversifying. We're doing some new things right now that are really paying off. So that's been great. And the ROI on those is really wonderful. It's not difficult to afford, actually. In other cases, some digital marketing is expensive. But we're spreading it around a little bit. And so I like the diversity myself, but I don't know that it's a red flag to be an expert at something.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
What's up guys, real quick, just jumping in here. If you've ever wanted to become an individual sales rep and be able to sell solar from anywhere in the world, just like I am here right now, you need to jump onto the Remote Solar Pro course and program that we've put together for you guys specifically. We've got the scripts, the sales call library, we've got every tool, every resource that you need to make your first sale this week alone. Jump onto salestalkwithsolarpros.com/RSP, mention this specific podcast and get a deal on a lifetime membership to Remote Solar Pro. Let's go, keep enjoying the podcast.
Oh yeah, so yeah, the other one would be potential exit event for meaningful value, which obviously we've touched on a couple times, and it's a lot of fun. I think it's way more fun to build a business than it is to be a sales rep. It's way more stressful, way more chaotic, way more curveballs, way more things that you don't expect, but lots of sweet victories too. It makes all the victories so much more sweeter,
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, so this one's definitely all you, sir.
Yeah, so we inserted some things into Apollo to put some structure in place. Corporate structure we mentioned once or twice. Kelly wanted a stock option plan right from the get-go, and I thought that was really smart. We had to learn a lot, not me personally, but we had to teach a lot, I guess, about stock option plans so that the Apollo team understood, what they were getting into. It is a little complex, but I think it's an amazing incentive.
Is this stock options for the like the employees and the salespeople that they can look forward to? Okay.
Yep. And we've done a number of different things. Kelly has put some plans in place where end of month, end of quarter results, get to here and earn an extra 5,000 stock option or whatever the number is, right? So it's not just a one-time thing necessarily. He's been using them very wisely, but also I'd say generously as well, but in places where it pays off for the company.
Yeah. And is
That's
that
great.
so stock option being hit certain like milestones or metrics, and then you'll unlock ownership, like certain ownership of the business?
Correct.
What's it for the salesperson? Is it like quarterly dividends or like share on profits or something like that, or preparation for buyout?
Yeah, so stock option is exactly that. It's an option to buy the stock. So
Okay. Yeah.
so they'll be able to buy the stock at a very low price at some point in the future when the price is already much higher. So you want to be careful with stock options in that you're seeking people to be around for a while, right? So you don't want to have the stock option vest in 30 days. 30 years would also be too long. Right? But in tech, it's very common for options to vest between 3 and 7 years. That's extremely common. 5, is an average. For those who think that's a long time, it's really not to build a meaningful business with value. And if you were to ask people who were there at the early days of Google or Tesla or whoever, that 5 years was nothing.
Yeah.
And if they're sitting there on, even if it's only enough money to buy a house cash, that's still amazing. It's, you did that while you were making a great living. So I think these stock option plans are phenomenal. So we were really happy to put that in place right off the bat. And it's been a generous program at Apollo, very generous program.
And what's the purpose of that? Is that to get the buy-in of your employees so they stick around for a long time?
I don't think it's so much one thing. I think it's a recipe, right? Like, this may be slightly overly truthful, but salespeople are overly emotional. In my experience, at least, and I started off in sales, and I'm 3/4 Italian and 1/4 Irish, so I'm the epitome of emotional. I know what that's about. But in business, there's changes that'll come, right? There's things that'll happen in business that, your emotion really has nothing to do with. And if you're an owner or a potential owner in a company, you're more than likely to push your emotions aside and think of what your outcome is going to be like, for working hard, for doing what you should do anyway. So I think it's it's a much bigger picture than just, wanting people to stick around. I don't honestly want anyone to stick around who doesn't want to stick around. I don't want to have to pay for that. But I do want the people who do stick around to have the payment of the outcome, right? Because that's not just fair, but it's generous, it's equitable, it's awesome, when you're there and you can say, oh my God, I remember when Sean and Kelly were arguing about this one thing in this one meeting, and then we figured out how to do it, and they ended up agreeing in the end, and it all worked out, or whatever the story is, right? There's always stories along the way, right?
Yeah.
And arguing is not really the right, but you're always debating, you're constantly debating, like, and assessing. So if it's a much bigger thing than just sticking around, it's being a part of. And memorializing that with the stock option.
Yeah. Have you found that it's people have, or like the people that work at Apollo have been pretty excited with the stock options?
That's hard to tell. I think they are. It seems like the feedback is that way. So I think the answer to that is yes. But this is definitely they say life is both a marathon and a sprint. Companies are the same, right? This is the marathon side of it. It's not the sprint side. So you do have to, get through, to the 28th mile, if you will, or whatever it is, in order to know. But I think they're excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the right people are excited about it. Right. The people who are interested in that long-term vision, the people who are interested in potentially an exit, right? The people who like bust their ass and work, way longer hours than are, expected or needed initially, right? Those are the people that see the value in stock options. They get a ton of options, and an exit for them in the future could be worth a multi-6-figure payoff.
Yeah. Is that the plan? with Apollo, like to sell at one point, or not sure?
Potentially,
Yeah.
right? Maybe, but it gives people the assurance that, you know, if that does happen, they're going to get a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's super
Right.
important. The assurance.
Yeah, like, so whatever happens, they're going to have a piece of the victory, right? They are going to own a little piece of the organization.
People often equate the word sell as a negative experience, but you know, I like the word acquired better. So if you get acquired and there's value and your stock turns into, you know, real dollars for you, then that's not a negative experience.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone would be crying over.
No, that's a
pay-
really good experience. So we're hoping that, you know, there's an event that happens at some point. The main thing is, as I've said in the very beginning of the podcast here, you know, conduct yourself as if. And let's say maybe that never happens, and instead we go public, or you know, we become an EPC and then go public. I don't know. I just know we have to conduct ourselves as if we're going to be something bigger than we are today.
Yeah, yeah.
And so far that looks good every quarter, right? Every quarter has been better, and I'd say dramatically in a lot of cases.
Now I can see it says financial discipline. Most people will look at that and be like, oh, I don't even want to look at that word. What is
I know, that's why I needed Sean. I knew it, because I can make money, but I could spend it too.
Yeah, and it's easy to do, right? It's easy to do, but there's, look, first you've got to be able to measure it and account for it, right? So there's accounting and structure. We're doing, you know, weekly meetings, payroll, you know, every single week. Like, it does not get missed. This is something that happens. We have monthly and quarterly financial statements, and of course annual financial statements, and all of our tax filings, right? But in our monthly and quarterly P&L statements, we're also then measuring as a percentage of revenue all the different aspects in the business, right? Like, what are we spending on marketing? Did it go up versus last month or last quarter? Is it going down? Where are we projecting? How will that affect the profitability of the business, you know, by Q4? Those are important things to be able to discuss so that you can figure out what it is, you know, that you're trying to accomplish, and what resources you need so that you don't overspend early, right? And you can use whatever toy you want, but you know, yeah, maybe it'd be great to go buy that side by side or that jet ski or whatever, but it might also be great to develop more leads. And if you did that for 4 quarters, you can probably buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so those are the discussions that happen here, and the financial discipline and the structure that, you know, that we've inserted into Apollo. It's been great. I think there'll be some more bigger issues in the coming year or two, because profitability will ultimately result in a tax liability.
Yeah.
And we're going to want to mitigate that as much as possible, as much as possible.
Yeah, I think the key word here is visibility as well, because if there's no visibility into like numbers, the accounts, money in, money out, it's a recipe for like complete disaster for especially for a company that, you know, in solar, that brings in so much cash.
It can be. And in, you know, as Kelly was mentioning, you know, for our dealer program, we're going to set up payroll. We'll also set up accounting. We'll get a QuickBooks file going. Everybody should have one. It's how you're going to be assessed. Let's say you want to go get a bank loan, or you want, you know, things. They're going to want to see your records. They're not going to see them on a scratch pad or a, you know, back of a napkin. Yeah, they're going to want to see.
Can't show them your Instagram.
So those are the things that, you know, we're going to do for the dealer program. As Kelly mentioned, it's going to be pretty liberating, I think, for new dealers to not have to worry about that and to go out and sell. Do
Yeah.
the things that they are experts at, just like we did here at Apollo. Yeah, so low cost of overhead, we're putting things in place for, what we did for Apollo that were not overly expensive. In order to do that, we are using resources outside of the US. And that helps a bunch. Our accounting at Apollo is, by a person in the US who would probably be controller or VP of accounting or VP of finance at a normal company, probably a six-figure position, but we're not paying anywhere near that. And it's helpful for the business in the beginning. Very, very helpful. And the quality of our work is as if, it is a six-figure position in place. So that's great. We've got lots of legal experience. It was interesting. I told that story earlier about that venture capitalist when I was in my mid-20s who said no. One of the things he said to me, and I don't know if language is a problem, on the podcast, but I'll just say it straight. He's like, would you like to know why? And one of the things he said was, I'd love it if you got fucked over a couple times and were in a lawsuit or two. It'll teach you more than you can ever know.
True.
Yeah.
So
It was so true. I mean, and at that time I did not know that. I wasn't debating that with him. I just didn't know because I hadn't been through anything. I remember a couple of years after that, I sent him an email and his name was Fred. I was like, Fred, you remember you said X to me? Well, you should see me now, because you go through a couple things like this and it teaches you a bunch. It's really hard to quantify, but it does teach you a bunch. We've had a couple things here that we've had to deal with, legally. Kelly mentioned one earlier, and we're prevailing there. And it's nice to know that if you do need to get anything done in the legal aspect of a business, that you can get it done and hopefully find a way to do it where it doesn't break the bank.
yeah, and that you mentioned the low cost of overhead, especially in the industry that we're in, which is the solar coaster. If expenses are too high every single month and there's unnecessary pressure just to cover overheads that are completely unnecessary, it can put and because I've been there, I've been in the position where our overhead was just like we were just way too top heavy. Can seriously set the business back quite a lot.
Yeah, you don't need much in the beginning. You don't. But you do need some structures, and you do need to start again conducting yourself as if with your accounting and your measurements. But it can be done, at a reasonable cost. And it can also, it flows with how busy you are, right? Our accounting costs go up when we have a huge month. If we don't have a huge month, they come down appropriately, right? So that's how it should go. It should not be a constant, because if it is, I don't think you can do that in this business in the beginning. That's too tough to endure. Yeah. So then there's other tools that we've provided, some recruiting, low-cost software tools. We're a QuickBooks solutions provider, so we use QuickBooks for accounting, and we also use QuickBooks for payroll. For a very small company, you probably don't need the payroll side of it initially. We can do the payroll without the QuickBooks payroll plan, but eventually it does make sense. There's a lot of things that come with it that are helpful. It can also depend on what states you're operating in. Some states are a little bit more difficult from a labor law point of view than others, so we will make that assessment. If you're in California or New York, those are harder labor law states. You're better off with a payroll service versus just using ACH or checks. But those things we typically do, again, very minimal costs. Is there another page to this? I think there might be. Yeah, some digital marketing. we got some web designers and outbound marketing. We've put a text program in place recently that's been really just wonderful. Kelly might be able to mention something on that. It's been, the ROI on that I think is phenomenal. I'm always very nervous to do digital marketing. In general, marketing is something that you need to do consistently and frequently. If you can't do it consistently and frequently, I'm of the mind, don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It
he set us
doesn't
up with the text marketing. It's very cost. I don't know. It's just inexpensive. I don't like saying cheap, right? Because you get a lot of value out of it.
It's like 1,000 texts for $7 or something, isn't it? Like on
Yeah, it's like $1,000 a month, and they had an initial ceiling to make sure you're not abusing it of 1,000 texts a day. But as you like, they just have to make sure that you're like, when people say stop, that you stop texting them, right? Like you follow their rules.
You
But as
follow the
you continue
compliance,
to do that, yeah, you follow the compliance, and like as you continue to do that, your ceilings get continuously raised. I think now we're at 2,000 texts a day, or 2,500 texts a day, something like that.
Yeah,
And
we're on our
that
way to 50,000 a month.
yeah, so we're going to continue to grow,
And
but
this
that
is
we've been
for
getting a
homeowners.
phenomenal return on that for that. We've had a couple people sell deals right through text messaging without even getting on the phone. People that
It's been
we've
awesome.
had people that we've called 50 times or 100 times that won't pick up the phone, but then they're texting us back. You know, like we sent out another round of texts today, and we actually got a bunch of hilarious responses back today. Like one of them was a meme of like one of the fish from SpongeBob that had an erection after we talked to him about his interest in solar, you know. So there's a lot of interested parties out there that don't want to pick up a phone or might not be home when you knock on their door, but when you text them, then they're going to text you back. So
Yeah, well, I'm a big believer of sell someone the way they want to be sold, as opposed to trying to shove down their throat your only one method that you may have.
100%.
yeah, so we're working on diversifying our marketing however we can. And you know, Sean has like an unbelievable amount of tools that we can do that, like the web designer too. So we have somebody in-house that can update our website, change things, create lead funnels, stuff like that. And yeah, his entrepreneurial expertise has helped me out a ton. Just the business mentorship and guidance. I've learned a ton about business. I had no idea how stock options functioned until I had like a 2-hour crash course on the phone with Sean, just going through like how stock options actually work. So I didn't know you can't actually give stock options out for free without screwing your company. They have to actually be purchased. So a lot of other of nifty things that Sean has taught me, just about, you know, financial management, contracts. I can read like contracts. It's not something I could do before, you know, owning my own company or working with Sean. So like actually being able to read an agreement and know what it means, like a legal agreement. So I can understand some legalese now, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's just learned a ton.
Yeah, and these are things, the most important part, right, is that these are the things that we're going to do for our dealer program. It's all available to our dealer program, and I think that's pretty exciting for the audience.
And this is what you call the essentially the incubator, because if someone's at a certain level and they want to become a real business, then they've got all this everything that we just went through, and avoid all of the pitfalls, and I guess like even just shortcut the learning curve by finding who. You guys are the who, right?
Yeah,
Who.
yeah, exactly.
So
And
figure out the how.
yeah, and just the general business coaching and mentoring side of things, right, is probably the biggest thing on the list, really. That's where the biggest value comes, because you go through ups and downs in life, and you go through ups and downs in your business, and you know, you got to be able to get through that stuff. And sometimes you just need a experienced person to even just listen, but also to sort of put a rudder on that ship, you know, to steer it in a direction where it needs to go based on whatever's happening.
Yeah. And for those who are watching either now or in the future, and they want to contact you guys, how do they do that?
So we have that form. Let me see if I can get another copy of that. So they can fill out our drop form. You can also just email us, dealer support, apolloenergycompany.com. We've had a couple people actually just reach out to us on Instagram because we've really started building up our social media presence, Facebook page, Instagram. You can shoot us a message on there. Pretty quick to respond. And you can also just hit me up on Facebook. I'm here too. I'm interacting. That's like I deleted Facebook for the longest time because I was sick of it. But then, we started the company back up, like just basically built one again so I can use it for networking. Met so many people, people that I may potentially work here now or that we work with in some capacity that, we got either through this Facebook group or through some other group. Most of it, we get a ton of value out of this group. And if you know how to network properly, like you can meet almost anybody that you need just in this Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that form link into
At least you
the
have that.
comments. Yeah, I've got it right here. Where is it? Yeah, so I'm going to drop it into the comments of this live. I think having conversations like this are super valuable because a lot of the content out there right now is on sales, how to get more sales, overcoming objections, but there isn't too much resources out there on building the foundations of a business, all the elements, what do all the moving parts look like? And if someone can plug into, this incubator that's being built, well, that's ready. It's going to save people a lot of time building their businesses.
Yeah, it's going to save a ton of time, and then they'll be able to continue on, like stay with us, or they have like big part of the incubator is they're not stuck under our umbrella forever. They have the opportunity to go direct with Suntuity should they choose to do so. We're going to put all those systems in place that they need to have a functioning org.
Now, for some reason, I can't actually type. Oh, here we go. There we go. Paste. I think it's my phone stuffing up. Boom. There we go. Just drop the link into the chat. So this recording is going to stay here forever. But if you're not on this recording and you can't see the chat, do you want to just say the email again that people can?
Oh yeah, dealer support. Check us out, dealer support at apolloenergycompany.com. Or you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook Apollo Energy Company, Instagram at Apollo Energy _company. So shoot us a message, check us out on there, or email us, or you can find me on Facebook, Kelly Wilson. Shoot me a friend request. Facebook DMs are open. Hop in my DMs, and I'll chat with you guys. I've been talking to quite a few people just there on Messenger, and we're going to continue to build this, continue to blow it up. If you want to get in and you want us to help scale you, our whole goal is basically you come in and work with us. We want to get you to 50 deals a month in less than 3 months. It's the whole plan.
Yeah, that's
so
solid.
Come work with us. We want you doing 50 deals a month in under 3 months. So we're going to help you do that, and let's rock and roll.
Love it. I've really enjoyed jamming on this. I mentioned Alex Hormozy earlier, but he talks about, spending the time to go through the things that most business owners avoid, right? And most business owners, they avoid this stuff because in their mind, it's like, oh, that's the boring stuff. I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later. 6 months goes down the track and they're in this big financial hole. So really enjoyed this conversation. Guys, if there's any questions, drop it. We'll get to the comments. We'll answer it. Also reach out to Kelly and Sean. Any last words, man?
Yeah. I think it comes back to what is the saying? I can give you a fish and you can eat for a day, or I can teach you to fish and you can eat for the rest of your life. Right. I think that's the difference really between making a living and building a business. And, just hope that, the dealers try to engage with us or do engage with us. And, we're going to all chip in and try to help you guys scale your businesses.
Love it. Thanks again, Sean. I've loved listening to you. Kelly, pleasure once again as always. And guys, don't forget to tune in to next week. We don't know the topic just yet, but believe it, it's going to be an awesome topic all around building businesses around your solar dealership. So thanks again, and see you guys all next week.
To the man. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Carlos.